Welcome to the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. Your adventure into the world of comic book movies starts here.
Greetings, citizens, and welcome to another adventure of the Real Comic Heroes Podcast. I'm Travis.
And I'm Patrick.
And I'll introduce myself. Hey, this is Alex Thompson-Forte, formerly of Galaxy Quest Minute and Independence Day Minute, and now semi-retired.
Professional guest.
Yes, hackneyed impressionist, personal guest.
That's right. Welcome, sir. We were just talking in the green room that this is your first time to the show.
Yeah, I think so. I think like we said, I've got my name on a bunch of things that are coming up in like the 2040s, but yeah, I guess we're just getting into chronologically, we're just getting into me as a young kid watching comic book movies. So
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So this is 2000. So is this like is this one of your first movies you remember as a kid, or?
It's not the first one I remember, but
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think so I was born in 88, so I'm
Okay.
I think kind of late 90s is when I kind of started to actually like develop tastes of my own that weren't, Barney. So I think yes. And I mean, like, the year 2000 is still the late 90s anyway. So
yeah,
somewhere
pretty
around
much.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how 1980 is. It's basically the 70s still. So that makes sense.
Sure.
It always takes a couple years to get the old decade funk off.
Yeah, that it
So,
does.
all right. The way you said it, I thought you were like 6 years old in like
no,
2000. So I was like, whoa, okay.
No, I'm not. God, do I? Thank you. I'll take the compliment.
So you were 12. You're preteen.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna feel real old for a second there. So
No.
okay. It's like, geez, Travis, where you get these guests at the junior high school?
Right. Yeah. It's a great thing about podcast guests. I get older, they stay the same.
Although I hate to break it to you, but someone who was 6 in 2000, I believe, is now in their 30s.
Yeah. That's. Well, let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else.
Yeah. So actually, if people have been listening to this for a while, they would have actually heard Alex on our Spider-Man, the 1994 Spider-Man script read through that we did. So
oh my God.
Yeah. We did that in October of 2022. So
Oh God, I don't even remember that. I've done a few readings.
Yeah.
But I've done a few readings, but I also have had a kid since then. So
Right.
I'm very dad brain at
Yeah.
this point in my life.
Fair enough.
Well, let's tap into your memory a little bit, and I'm going to ask you some questions since this is your first time, officially on a movie review. So, what was the first comic book you read?
Technically, I'm sure there was something else, but the first one that I remember reading, my dad had a copy of Giant-Sized X-Men #1. The one where it begins basically with in medias res with the original X-Men team have been all kidnapped except for Cyclops. They're being held on Krakoa, and Xavier assembles the new X-Men to go get them. And I wore that thing out because being a child of the 90s, my two entries into superhero stuff were basically Batman the Animated Series and the X-Men cartoons. So, just it's an X-Men in a comic book, and then just wore it out and spilled drinks on it. And pages got torn, and he wasn't thrilled about it. But,
Yeah.
oh well, you can buy one for $50. I'm sorry. But gotta be that one, I'm pretty sure.
Right on. What about
X-Men was big in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how about first comic book movie that you saw?
So technically speaking, I'm sure it was probably something Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
But the first one that I can actually think of was probably like Batman Forever.
Okay.
Because again, like it's right around that time period. I'm, it's what, 96, 97?
7.
Yeah.
Wait,
So yeah.
95
So
for forever.
I am perfectly in the wheelhouse of the age range that they were starting to skew towards in that series.
Yeah.
So that is definitely in that movie is definitely in. I know it's a terrible movie, but I love it anyway.
Yeah.
It is beautiful
Oh, it
trash.
gets worse.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
So that's a masterpiece in comparison.
Mhm.
So Batman and Robin. Oof.
How about favorite comic book issue or series?
Favorite. I'm torn on this. I'd either go with Kingdom Come
Okay.
or Emperor Joe. I can't. I've gone back and forth on them. I feel like Kingdom Come is clearly quote unquote better, but like I think of Emperor Joker stuff more often.
Okay.
You know, 2 + 2 = fish. Everyone knows that. You know, so I'm gonna go. You know, gun to my head, I'll say Emperor Joker.
Okay.
But it's probably close. And then I also have a soft spot in my heart for the DC versus Marvel crossover that they
Oh,
did
sure.
around that same time. The that I also admit is generally not very good, but you know, again, still kind of nostalgia goggles
Oh,
and
yeah.
the time period.
I just saw something online that they're threatening to maybe do something, some sort of Marvel DC
Uh-huh.
crossover thing again. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a casual comics person, so
yeah.
every now and then I'll find out like, oh, they've actually done a ton of them, and they
Hmm.
keep doing them. And oh, look, Darkseid has the Infinity Gauntlet. I
All
don't
right.
remember that.
So what about favorite comic book movie?
I'm gonna probably say I want to cop out and say Infinity War plus game, but
Okay.
I'll avoid the cop out and just say Endgame. I
Nice.
think. Like I'm a sucker for the time travel story
Sure.
where they go back in time and watch earlier movies and earlier
Yeah.
episodes in the
Yeah.
background. Like I like Back to the Future 2 better than Back to the Future 1.
Okay.
So, you know, so Endgame is basically the exact same thing. You know, here, hey,
Yeah.
look, it's the Avengers happening over there off screen while we're, you know, bantering and, you know.
Yeah. Endgame to me, Endgame is a perfect, comic book movie. It
Mhm.
is so good. I love
Yeah.
Endgame. So
Again, I think I would say Infinity War is probably better in air quotes, but like Endgame is I'm coming back to Endgame.
yeah, right on. Well, cool. What's your history with Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker?
So again, I grew up heavily influenced by the animated series. So in turn, it kind of branched out. You know, as I branched out from my initial X-Men and Batman starting point, you know, branched out to all of the other things in the Timverse.
Yeah.
You know, so Superman, Justice League, animated series. Never really got into Static Shock, but
Hmm.
and then I was a little late to the boat on the movie. I didn't see the movie when it first came out. Like it just kind of, I missed the announcement or whatever.
Sure.
Um, but then I eventually saw it, and I was thinking as I was prepping for this, because there's basically two versions of it. There's
Yeah.
the quote unquote real version, and there's like the more friendly version
Right.
where you know they slightly censored.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen the censored version in full.
Okay.
Like I'm aware of everything that basically is cut out and changed, and
Hmm.
no, I watched someone's react video to it once, and I was like, wait, that scene seems wrong. Oh, yeah, that's because yeah, I got you.
So is it
But
just violence toned down, or
Yeah. Yeah.
it's violence. It's the language is, I mean, not that they're cursing in the movie, but like they've made the language a little more vague in a few
Hmm.
places. Instead of I don't even remember what they substituted in, but they didn't say like Tim did shoot him. You know, they said something else
Right.
that wasn't quite as explicit about what
There,
happened.
essentially, when Columbine happened, they had to go in and
Yeah,
re-edit this to take out some of the violence and some of that. I think
yeah.
stuff like that, a line where, he would say if it said someone got shot, they would find a way around that, or whatever.
Hmm.
So,
Or the biting on the ground in the Batcave when Joker finally breaks in. is in red versus in the other version, I think it's in like purple.
Oh yeah,
because they didn't want to imply that it was actually blood.
right.
Yeah, I figured it was the Tim Drake stuff just because, man, that was the creepiest part of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and there are things there as well. But I think this movie I've come to enjoy more as I've grown up and started to be able to like appreciate performances.
Yeah.
Because this is probably my favorite Mark Hamill Joker performance.
Okay.
Maybe I could say the Arkham games, but
Mm.
I think this is probably like my favorite kind of threading the needle of silly and scary
Yeah.
that he's done. And I know because he's done the character in a bunch of iterations.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is, I think, and I know that I think they said that like it was kind of like frustrating for him to not be able to kind of cut as loose as he wanted to and like be kind of more villainous and creepy, but like I think it threads the needle the best of everything that he's done it in.
Right on. Patrick, had you ever seen this?
Randomly saw it maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
I'd never before that. But yeah, no, I saw it a few years ago. I didn't know it existed until I randomly came across it on streaming.
Right on. Yeah, like Alex said, kind of saying that you kind of missed the boat on when this came out and everything. Same with me. Like I had watched, most if not all of the Batman the animated series before this, and a lot of the Superman stuff. And then I think when this came out, it was graduating high school into college, like kind of that time of my life. So I just didn't, I didn't make time for this, or like probably was aware that it was coming out but just never got around to it until a little while later. And I think I saw I guess the edited version, the more TV friendly version, I think, because I remember watching it, years later, kind of revisiting it and seeing this uncut version and really being surprised by like this is a much darker movie than I remembered, and then kind of looking into here's why, and all that. So yeah, it was one that I never, I guess late to the boat or late to the party on, and then like every time I've watched it since, it gets better in my in my sort of opinion, because I think I always lump this in with just like, I mean, Batman Beyond is okay, but it's just whatever. It's just its own thing. It doesn't live up to the Batman the animated series. But like now that I watch it, it's like this is a fantastic kind of postscript to the animated series because of that Tim Drake story that they weave into it. So yeah, it's much better on revisit for me. And I did just recently rewatch this and went through it watching our friends over at Bat Minute. They just covered this and they did a shorter season. They did this in 5 minutes at a time sort of episodes. So it's a quicker sort of season for them. I highly recommend anyone listening to check that out because they did a great job covering it. I learned a ton about it. I'm going to try not to just directly quote them, all the information that they revealed, but
yeah, you dropped for like a good 2 minutes. It seemed like
we lost,
of course,
a good minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Son of a bitch. Well, hopefully it recorded all of it on my end.
Yeah.
All right. I was telling Patrick I found a website with the full list of the edits.
Okay.
Made in the I'm not going to run through them all right now, but I'll I can drop them in as we get there.
Okay. So like, what do you guys think of since this is our first time talking about Batman Beyond in general, what do you think of the idea of the setting a Batman in the future and having a younger, Batman with an older Bruce sort of man in the chair kind of role, and then like the costume and everything, the updates?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wanted I don't know, 15 years prior to this.
Okay.
Like I wanted like a 50-year-old Batman, or I'm not even entirely sure how old he is, but like I want to see a grizzled Batman more than new fresh face WB
So you wanted
one.
the Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So I just finished so I recently just did a rewatch of, or actually more a first time viewing of Justice League and then Justice League Unlimited, and in those there's several times where they'll go to the future and they'll go to Batman Beyond times, and so I just finished those. And now I'm on Batman Beyond, so I'm going to
Yeah.
start watching those. And so I just watched the kind of opening 3 episode sort of mini movie that
Yeah,
Batman
which
Beyond did.
starts at the very, very beginning with like a 50, 60-year-old Batman.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Patrick, you
So-
might like
so-
that first
yeah.
3 episode arc where it has a flashback to
Yeah.
60-year-old Batman.
Yes. So I don't
Bruce
think
Wayne.
this is getting too spoilerific because I mean it's the very beginning of the pilot episode. So it starts with Bruce Wayne in his 50s or 60s in the Batman Beyond suit.
Okay.
Basically, he has
Yeah.
to wear it because he's
And older.
too beaten
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
from being
Yeah.
Batman. He's breaking up. I don't know, just some punks. They're not named characters. They're just
some people
random-
robbing a warehouse, or no, they
Yeah,
have a kidnapping victim.
Yeah, something like that. Just random hoodlums, and he has basically a heart attack
Mhm.
in the middle of the robbery, and he is about to he's about to get Jason Todded. He's about to get clobbered to death by one of these thugs with a pipe, and the only way he can save himself is he picks up one of their guns off the ground and points it at the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I'd never really watched this version of
Mhm.
Batman.
Yeah.
I knew it existed, but I'd never really seen it.
I will say, like, overall with the suit and everything, I like the design.
Mhm.
It kept tripping me up that I always thought that the wings were like almost like a squirrel suit where they were like attached from the arms to the
Mhm.
mid torso. But here in this, when you first see him flying around, they're actually like on his back, which I never noticed watching. I don't know. So that was jarring, but
When I look at the suit, I know realistically, kind of intellectually, that's what someone like Batman would do and would have to do is they would keep tinkering, they would keep adding new technology. But it's kind of like watching the progression of the Iron Man suit as you go through the MCU. Like, yes,
Yeah.
of course, Tony Stark would keep adding technology, and he would experiment with nanotechnology and this kind of thing and that kind of thing. But I kind of I miss the original. I miss
Yeah.
the sort of analog.
yeah, a suit of
nature of the
iron.
original.
Yeah.
Yeah, a suit of armor, and
Yeah.
I kind of miss the Batman suit a little bit.
Mm.
I understand why you wouldn't have it, but just yeah. One thing I don't remember from Batman Beyond in the animated series is, do they just say this is Batman now? And
Yeah.
so everyone just thinks it's the same guy?
Oh, I don't know about. I'm not sure what the mythology around him
In-universe
is.
mythology. Yeah.
Right.
Is
I don't.
this-
I doubt people. I doubt they think that it's the same person. I don't. Maybe they. I don't know. Maybe
The
because
builds are different.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the builds are different.
Sounds different.
Yeah.
Sounds different. I
But
mean,
this-
even if you're thinking logically, like even if Batman was younger than Bruce Wayne
Yeah.
actually was back in the series, if it's the same guy at this point, he's got to be in his 70s or so. So yeah.
Yeah. Because the Batman in the animated series really leaned on that. He was a figure of the night, and people weren't even 100% sure he existed.
Mhm.
They toyed with that a lot. This, I don't get the sense that there's any,
There's no
theatrics to
ambiguity
it.
about that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
they did say in the movie when Joker attacks the Wayne Foundation
Yeah.
thing, they said like the return of another Gotham icon, the Batman. Like,
Right.
so we just talk. Okay, yeah, hey, it's Batman. That's another
Right.
thing. It's like the mayor.
yeah. I mean, so this movie starts like some like shipping warehouse is getting robbed. We got a gang of they're called the Jokers, and
With a Z.
yeah, in the first episode of this series, there's a gang of Jokers or Joker wannabes. They're very influenced by the real Joker, and like this is a different group of kids, but still
Yeah.
kind of carrying on that same sort of idea where they're obviously all very, like the girls are inspired by Harley Quinn. The other guys are just clowns, and then one is just randomly, kind of a scarecrow sort of ripoff.
Scarecrow looking,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I
like
think
'em.
in universe, I think a lot of young hoodlums have sort of taken inspiration from Joker and his
Yeah.
iconography. I could imagine that Joker could have a henchman, maybe not a henchman who looks like a scarecrow, because Scarecrow is also a character, but I could imagine him having like a giggling hyena man if he had the
Yeah.
technology. And
Well, and it ties in with like Harley and Joker had two hyenas. So the idea that this kid is spliced with hyena DNA, like, okay, that in universe, it makes total sense, And this is an era where gene splicing is a thing. So,
is a thing, yeah.
yeah. So I dig it.
Joker had 2 hyenas.
Yeah,
I
Harley
didn't know
Harley
that.
would she had a pair of hyenas that she would
Oh.
keep on a leash. They actually do it in that Harley Quinn movie with Margot Robbie. Like she has 2 hyenas
Oh,
at
really?
one point, I think for maybe one scene, I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, because
So
if
here
Joker's going to have a dog, they're going to be laughing hyenas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So here in this opening, looking at this website with the list of all the edits that were made, there are some minor edits basically to tame down the violence just a bit. So in the first scene, Wolf hits the security guard twice before he falls to the ground, whereas in the edited version, he only hits him once.
Okay.
Nah. Wow. That makes such a
Major
difference.
changes, major.
Yeah. As Batman is climbing his way up the scanner to fight Ghoul, he hits him in the stomach and then uppercuts him in the face. In the edited version, it's only the uppercut in the face.
Okay.
And then there's they've added flashes on like every punch,
Oh,
or
okay.
a lot of punches.
Uh,
Just little bits like that that they just cut out to just tame down the violence just a bit. I think that it looks like they also cut a good amount of Batman v DD's
Okay.
violence.
Okay.
Maybe they were thinking of like man fighting women.
Yeah.
Kind of they were trying to avoid, even though the DD's the scene that they mostly cut out is the DD's beating the crap out of him. But
Yeah.
yeah,
When he fights back, like later in the movie, when he fights them, it's mostly like he throws one of them into the other one, so it's not,
yeah.
he's not like hitting them, per se. So, yeah.
Do you know, Travis, did this was this movie before or after the Justice League episode that went forward to the future and fought like this Joker, this
Oh,
group
man.
of the Joker?
Oh, this would be before, because when in that episode,
Yeah.
they have like tinkered with themselves even further.
Well, yeah,
they're
so in
all
that-
like
yeah.
cyborgs and,
Well,
so
in that episode, the Justice League characters are
Yes.
busy trying to fight basically a rogue time traveler.
yeah.
Who they've chased him into the past. They had an adventure there. He escaped them and went forward to the future. And then when they get to the future, which is the Batman Beyond timeline, this bad guy has enhanced the Joker's gang with tech from the far future.
Yeah.
So they're now incredibly lethal, where here they were, mostly pushovers, but
Yeah.
like
The DDs
they-
could multiply into
the DDs could multiply. The DDs kill.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
in the episode.
Yeah. Bonk, which is the heavy set one, he now has no legs and he rolls around like on a ball, and he has Darth Maul's
No, it wasn't
lightsaber.
Bonk. It was I don't remember what Bonk had, but
Oh, it was Chucko.
it was Chucko. And then I think
okay.
Wolf has like Winter Soldier arms or something like
Yeah.
that. I don't remember what Bonk had, but
I got the names mixed up. I was thinking Bonk
Yeah.
was because Bonk dies in this one. So I don't.
yeah, it's
don't
kind of funny. Bonk dies in this one, but in that episode, I think Chucko dies, or Chucko either dies or
Gets
is about
taken
to,
to the beginning of time,
He
or
gets-
the
he gets interrogated. He gets and Batman plays good cop to old man Bruce Wayne's bad cop.
Well, and then he gets dropped off at the moment when like the asteroid kills the dinosaurs. He's
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
so,
Okay, yeah, that's
See, this is why I can't keep up with comic book
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's
and this
just
is comic book stuff from 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, so that's the
Um,
downfall of Marvel. I can't
Mm.
keep up with all the stuff they got going on.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the fight scene goes on, and then, yeah, bonk, don't.
Yeah. Yeah, and we it cuts to like the Batcave, old man Bruce is kind of just there brooding and waiting for Terry to
Oh, on our way to the Batcave.
Oh.
So we do have the opening fight, and that as basically is our cold open, and then we go to the credits. One thing I remember from the commentary for this is basically they either ran out of money or ran out of time or both, which is why the opening credits are just
Okay.
basically white text on black background.
Okay.
I don't remember whether it was running out of money or running out of time, but they basically didn't have the resources to actually do something kind of cool.
Yeah.
So that's why the credits are just like white on black.
Sure.
Clean, with like a
Okay.
guitar track over it.
I figured it was just how the TV show was or something.
No, the
Yeah.
TV show was kind of very kinetic.
Yeah, they
like
have a
the
decent little
shows.
intro.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's a bit like we're in
Yeah.
the future now, so it's
Mhm.
techno
It's like
music
the Jetsons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is,
yeah,
it is a
exactly.
little techno and a little it is very music video-y. but,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was 2000. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It is very it's
Oh,
very
yes.
2000.
When
Raves
the
were big then.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and we get to go to a rave. Yay.
Oh yeah.
So back to the Batcave.
Yeah. Terry comes in, and I'm not a fan of this Batmobile, flying. I like the idea of a flying Batmobile, and I guess,
Mhm.
but it replaces the Batwing, but it's also the Batmobile. But I don't like the design of it. Just flat out the look of it. I don't care
It's
for.
another one, like I said, where logically, especially in this future where there are flying cars, I can see why the Batmobile is basically just a plane.
Mhm.
But I miss the Batmobile.
Yeah. Although I did notice later, a quarter way through the movie, we see old man Bruce in his limousine,
Mhm.
and his limousine looks like an upside down Batman the Animated Series Batmobile.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know if that was, I imagine that was a conscious design, but it just looks like
Yeah.
the front grill of the Batmobile.
Oh, yeah.
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 It's
see that.
like inverted, and now it's like part of the underneath. I don't know.
So one of it's off of this website, and this one I did remember was an edit. So in the uncensored version of the movie, Bruce throws the batarang to show that he's still got it,
Yeah.
and it beheads the Two-Face statue.
Yeah.
In the edited version, we only see the batarang come back to Bruce. They don't show a man being decapitated.
Oh,
Statue of a man being decapitated.
Weak.
kids just couldn't handle it.
Yeah. Kids could not handle a
Yeah.
two-faced man being
Right.
decapitated.
I do like this concept, when they said, "Hey, let's do a Batman Beyond sort of show. Let's do a younger Batman with, having Bruce around as the old mentor really works. I do like their, I like their interplay. And it's still great you get to have a Batman show and still hear Kevin Conroy doing Bruce Wayne, So
It lets you do something different with
Right.
Batman, which I
Right.
appreciate. Like a lot of Batman shows nowadays and over the past 20 years and Batman movies, like you can argue, Brave and the Bold is doing something different from what Christopher Nolan's doing, which is, something different from that new show that Bruce Timm is doing.
Sure.
But they're all kind of different flavors of the same dish. Like they're all they're all pizza. Like there's difference between New York pizza and Chicago pizza and Detroit pizza, but it's all pizza.
Yeah.
Like this actually, like it's a different man behind the cowl. He doesn't have Alfred. Like,
Yeah.
There's technically a Commissioner Gordon, but it's not Jim Gordon. There's no Robin. There's no Robin, there's no Batgirl. Like it's actually its own thing. As opposed to just kind of another version of the same story.
It gives them a lot of freedom, I think,
Yes.
to,
Yeah.
you can tell a different story. So, yeah.
Mhm.
I like when, I noticed this when we see them at the club, this rave sort of like under 21 sort of hangout place that they all go to.
Yeah.
It's something I didn't notice until we come back to the club like halfway through the movie, but it's the same here. How I don't know if it was a pain in the ass for the animators, but the effect of making it look like they're in this club with like the lights changing is that for like one frame the characters will be bathed in blue light, and then a second later the character is in green light, and then it just alternates to
Yeah.
red and green and then back to blue or whatever. And it's so subtle, but it makes total sense. It's a great effect. It just I don't know, I never noticed it before because they come to this sort of place quite a bit in the series. But it's just a really
This is like the spot for Terry and Danny.
yeah. But I did think like he and Bruce had a conversation right before this, like I rounded up some Joker punks and they were stealing tech that they don't normally mess with, but anyways I'm going out to the club, and Bruce is kind of like, shouldn't you go home and get a good night's rest? And I'm thinking, shouldn't you go out on patrol and make sure there are no other crimes that need to be tended to? Like, it's just funny to this version.
Yeah.
He goes out clubbing after his Batmaning. So
Yeah, he does. Well, yeah, I mean, his Batmaning ends like original Batman's Batmaning ends when the sun comes up.
yeah, and again, they're different. They're different men. One is driven by sort of avenging the death of his parents that he can never avenge, so he's driven to just be Batman nonstop. But this version, he's not as driven to punish all crime for the death of his father, a couple years ago. So
is
yeah.
Terry in high school then?
Yeah, I've worked out that I think he is in high school. I just started rewatching the show, and he
was in high school during the
definitely
show.
in high school.
Okay.
In the
But
show,
he
yeah.
also works for Bruce Wayne
Yes.
basically essentially as his manservant.
Yeah.
Intern kind of thing?
Basically
Or...
basically to cover for him being Batman,
Yeah, but I think
But-
the movie is also technically kind of set like a year or two after the show, so maybe
Yeah.
technically Terry's graduated.
It's kind of
now.
vague. Like, he's in that, is he a kid, or is he at most I
Does
think
he
he's
get
like 19,
Yeah, he gives me like Spider-Man vibes.
Totally.
So,
yeah.
a lot more wisecracking and
Yep.
not as beaten down as Bruce Wayne's Batman.
Yep.
Although I don't remember if Bruce Wayne Batman I ever saw a teenager though.
Well,
I think
no.
I don't.
They haven't
I've
really
ever
done a
seen
young
depiction.
Batman sort of thing.
Nothing that young, unless they
no.
got into it in Gotham, which
that's what I was trying to think.
Yeah, I guess that'd be the closest thing.
Because generally speaking, in his backstory, his teenage years and his maybe early 20s are when he's
traveling
the world and learning how to fight.
Yeah,
that's right. I remember Batman Begins now.
yeah.
I just never thought about it until now that I'd never seen like a teenage Batman, but
yeah,
I guess he hadn't gotten the skills yet. He was just angry and emo and weird fashion sense.
Yeah, then we see the Jokers. They go back to their hideout, like a candy factory or whatever,
Of course, a Joker.
Yeah. And we see the new Joker, and this works for me. Like, I like the look. I like he's real slimmed down. I like how they reintroduce him here, and you don't know, like, is he the real thing? It totally works.
So in the commentary, Tim and Paul Dini mention they based this character design more on Hannibal Lecter, which I think you can see.
That makes sense because he kind of has the slick back hair, real short. Yeah,
he's got kind of the red eyes here.
Yes,
he's got the black fingernails for some reason, which I don't think Joker. Maybe they gave.
That's new for this, for sure.
That's new for this. Yeah.
I don't mind it. I kind of like it.
Hey, were they black or green in the first Batman movie when he comes out of the?
Yeah,
was
I
it
think
green?
Green.
Okay.
Yeah, which is probably what they're going for
fingers.
here, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Here's another big edit. Bonk's death is very, very neutered. I don't even think they explicitly have stated that Bonk is dead.
Right.
I think at most they kind of give you the thing they do in the animated series where it's like he's laughing gassed.
Yeah,
So-
I noticed that this time around that when they cut back to him, he's laying on the table, he's got that the bang sort of dart in his chest.
Mhm.
But then just after that they show his face and he does have that rictus grin
Mhm.
that I guess that implies that the bang sort of dart is maybe tipped with or laced with Joker venom.
Yeah.
I
I
don't think I
think
ever
it's-
noticed that before.
It may be, but I think it's like probably a different variation of it.
Oh,
that
sure.
It
Yeah.
seems like it works more like I think the Joker Venom did in the first Tim Burton Batman, where you basically die with a rictus grin on your face, as opposed
Right.
to the animated series where you just laugh
Laugh, yeah,
uncontrollably. But R.I.P. to Bunk.
Yeah. Let's see.
Henry Rollins as
Yeah.
Bunk.
Yeah. I do like that there is a line there where Joker says, the whole thing of like that's how we did it back in my day, and it's like
Mhm.
if you pay attention, that is how they did it back in his day. That's how he got killed, So it's a fun little tip of the hat, I
He
guess.
killed henchmen who had too much mouth on them.
Yeah.
Oh, another edit. Instead of calling them putzes, he calls them yutzes.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not up
Okay.
enough on my Yiddish to know if that's if that's much better.
And it cuts to this like Bruce Wayne's return. Like he's not letting kind of his second in command was poised to take over the company, but Bruce is kind of coming back in and refusing to lose control of his company. And
They're gonna say refuses to die.
yeah, well, yeah,
Well,
uh,
his second in command, Jordan Price, the
Right.
intentionally placed red herring.
oh yeah,
They very intentionally had him also voiced by Mark Hamill.
yeah,
They very intentionally made him look like this
Yeah.
this new Joker.
yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll get to it, but I
Mhm.
hated how this ended up turning out.
Oh, okay,
The red herring thing. It kind of
Okay.
annoys me.
okay.
Just in general, because it's like, obviously it's not going to be, or they're going to double reverse me, and it's going
Right.
to be him. Like
Mhm.
it's like,
Yeah, okay.
They're gonna say no, it's too obvious.
Mhm.
In the show, they'll say no, it's too obvious.
Yeah.
And then it actually is him.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, I like the rooftop fight. I like the hyena gets some action there.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I like that this is it. Sometimes they play with Joker where he's, he just does everything, anarchy is his thing, he doesn't like to plan things or whatever. But I like that this is, he's gonna show you on one hand, what he's doing by interrupting Bruce Wayne's return, having this big elaborate show and sort of doing that while in the basement, I guess, of this same building, um,
Yeah.
the heist is going on. So I do like that this is all just distraction. So it
Mhm.
shows you that this is still a Joker that can plan out things. And I noticed that when they go to leave, Joker hits like a remote and then a bunch of tables and a bunch of bombs start going off around this little event center, which means how far back did he plan all this,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
It actually kind of gives credence to the idea of Jordan Price as the Joker, because like
Yeah,
otherwise,
he would
how
have
did-
access. Yeah.
Yeah, how did he get access to do this?
Yeah.
But on their way home, another fun edit here.
Mm.
On the way home from the Joker's return in the public eye, as they're driving in the car, they have digitally added seatbelts to Bruce and Terry
Nice. I'll have to look for those.
in the edited version.
But this is the car that looks like the previous, Batmobile.
Yeah. Upside down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can see that there are no seatbelts on the one I'm seeing. That's
Yep.
funny.
Mhm.
Again, I did not pay attention to that,
Yeah.
other than the fact that Terry's tie weirded me out. It was
Oh,
like
yeah.
growing out of his shirt. Well,
Well, I think they both
That's-
are.
Yeah, they both are.
Yeah.
I guess
That's just the style. Yeah.
oh, okay.
I think
nowadays.
I've seen it in other
Just like a tuxedo T-shirt.
Yeah. I've
Classy.
I've noticed in other like shows when they go to the future, neckties or the way neckties work, or like if you're watching Star Trek and you go to an alien civilization, millions of miles away, they'll play with like how people look when they're dressed up, but it's always like
Mhm.
they just do neckties slightly different. That's like
Mhm.
it's shorthand for this is either future or alien.
Mm-hmm. Coming
Um,
Back to the Future Part 2. I think he's wearing 2 ties at once.
yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. So then they flash briefly on this guy, like we don't know yet is
Yeah.
Tim Drake. And then this is where Terry goes to visit Barbara Gordon, who is now Commissioner Gordon.
Mhm.
New
Obviously,
Commissioner Gordon.
yeah, yeah. Obviously, she's not, Batgirl anymore, or, involved in that sort of in that nonsense anymore. But it it kind of weirds me out that Terry doesn't know about the Joker. He tries to ask Bruce about him, and Bruce shuts him down. He goes to visit Barbara for information, and she kind of
Mhm.
says, just leave it alone. It's odd that he wouldn't know anything about the Joker.
Was it like 40 years ago or something that
Yeah, but you think if you were taking over as Batman, you would like study up and
uh,
read previous adventures of Batman. I don't know.
because I'm trying to think like if I was like a teenager, so that would put it into like the 1950s, I guess.
Yeah.
In my
So
perspective,
Bruce is what, 60s or 70s here?
I
I think
think Bruce
30.
is in his 80s.
30s during.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Bruce is in his 30s during the main animated series, and
Yeah.
Tim is 10 to 12
10.
at
Yeah.
most. Are we already jumping to the flashback?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about how, Terry goes to Bruce and Bruce tries to, Bruce, after having an interaction with the Joker or someone that he doesn't believe is the Joker, he
Mhm.
basically tells Terry, like, no, it's okay. You can be done. You've already solved your father's, killer. You've done that. You don't need to be Batman anymore. And so they kind of have a fight about that. And then like this whole
He fires him, basically.
right. I don't like that angle of this movie. I feel like it's here to sort of extend the story. Like we need a middle portion where they're at odds and all that. It's just why don't you just give Batman as much intel as you have on the Joker so that he can, maybe help and catch the guy. Instead, it's got to be about
He's traumatized.
I know, and it's
Yeah.
like Bruce doesn't want the same thing to happen to Terry and,
Yeah.
and all that. I get that. But then Terry makes this really great sort of speech about why he does this. And, like he wants to keep doing this and keep being Batman. And then it seems like he actually wins Bruce over because Bruce then says, like, stupid kid, and starts to walk away, which to me says, okay, kid, if you want to be Batman, go be Batman, but you're stupid for being Batman. But then Terry, like, it seems like Terry gets his feelings hurt by being called a stupid kid, so then he just takes off the backpack. Something else I don't like is he keeps his Batman suit in a backpack. He takes it off and throws it at Bruce's feet, and it's like, okay, I'm done. You're like, but you didn't want to quit, like, or get fired from this, so but you're quitting. It's just I don't like this little 10-15 minutes of the story.
I can see that. I don't think it bothers me. Bruce's part in this doesn't bother me because I think it's one of the rare occasions that we see of Bruce slash Batman throughout all of all these interconnected shows of him kind of being wrong and not doing
Yeah.
things the right way, which I'm okay with because like I don't he doesn't need to be a Mary Sue. He doesn't need to be perfect
Yeah.
and always be right all the time. Like him having an emotional reaction and not handling things well, I'm fine with that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I can see where you're coming from with like the way Terry kind of handles it,
Yeah.
And at the same time though, like we think what Terry's again, what, 17, 18? Like
Yeah.
it's not out of the question for him to
Right.
just like storm off and essentially throw a pubescent tantrum and just say like, screw you, old man.
That's
I quit.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's now a free man.
Mm-hmm.
He's got more time. He can go to the club, when he's not falling asleep and he can, hang out with his girlfriend. And then it cuts to meanwhile, Bruce is mixing up a batch of anti-Joker toxin, and he gets, when Ace goes off, Ace hears something, runs up the stairs, and you hear I think one of my least favorite sounds ever is that painful yelp, that dog yelp sound. It makes me cringe. I hate that sound because it's so effective,
Mm-hmm.
So that always gets me. But yeah, the idea that like this little capsule comes, bouncing down the stairs, and I don't know, Bruce. I know he's an old man. I know his reaction time is slower, but he notices this capsule as the entire time it's like bouncing towards him, and it's still, it manages to go off, like I know he can't run away from it, but it's like he just is frozen here, which I have I don't know, hard time with. But
so
he's very arthritic.
yeah.
So this is see, I think where a little bit of fridge logic kicks in for me, because effectively they've done the same thing they did at the Wayne Foundation thing, where Joker's going to go do one thing and the Jokers are going to go do another thing.
Yeah.
But they don't, Joker doesn't know that Bruce just fired Terry.
Right.
Joker could be coming to the Batcave with both of them there.
Yeah.
How did he know? Aside from the fact, spoiler for a couple minutes from now, maybe they said it and I missed it. I'm not clear how they knew to attack Terry McGinnis.
I noted that too.
But,
I don't know how they know that yet.
Yeah, I don't, unless you're basically saying, Tim Drake is such a good detective, but
right.
We also see later on that Tim Drake doesn't know towards the end of the movie, we see that Tim Drake doesn't know that Terry doesn't know who Terry is out of costume.
Right.
So
but how much is the Joker aware of what Tim sees?
Yeah,
I guess
it's a little bit of fridge logic that
yeah.
He's at the club all the time, so I think everyone knows he's a regular there. So
one thing
that guy falling asleep on the dance.
He's Norm from Cheers.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, when we see the Jokers arrive, we see Dee Dee is in costume, but then the other Jokers are just in their own, Dee
Dee's in
disguise,
as with their
women with
incredibly long hair.
Yeah, but
the thing I remember from the club fight is the enormous lava lamp thing.
Yeah. That seems very impractical.
Yeah. It's kind of surprising there are no bouncers in the club to try to break up this. I mean, usually clubs have security.
I saw the hyena guy and was like, nope, not worth the
this is
$15.
Yeah, but this is just the coffee house, because
that's right, it's a juice bar.
Yeah, this is just where the kids hang out.
Yeah, that's true.
A couple more edits here to the violence in the club fight. The same sort of stuff. They cut back on a little bit of the part where Ghoul is actually grabbing Dana. Again, I guess the man on woman violence. Again, just like things where there are 3 punches, but then there are 2 punches.
Right.
Stuff like that. Nothing honest. The violence, I don't think you'd notice it necessarily when it's cut out.
So did the Joker know like the secret lair location? Like, because I know like he rips the clock out of the wall and gets to the Batcave or whatever.
So
this Joker knows.
This Joker does know because he knows everything Tim Drake knew. So
so Tim just doesn't know
the
other way around.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not a two-way, it's not a window, it's a one-way mirror.
It's a one-way mirror, yeah.
Yeah. It is super haunting when Terry gets there and finds Bruce and all that, red, all that stuff, and he's at the computer.
With the rictus grin, because at that point, Bruce might be dead. He didn't know.
Right. So it is super creepy and effective. Like it really works, especially given like we talked about, Batman Mask of the Phantasm not too long. I mean, it's been a while, but because you see in that, like, Arthur Reeves gets Joker gassed and he ends up in the hospital and has that amazing moment of where he starts laughing. Batman comes to him for information and he's like, he starts to lose it. He feels the laugh coming back on. He's like, oh no, you know, and my assumption with that movie was always that he does die of laughter. And so to know that Joker has had victims die of laughter before, to see Bruce like this, it definitely works. So,
So, quick question.
yeah.
It might be confusing by comic book stuff, but I thought Barbara became paralyzed, and unless she's got like feature legs or something, I don't know.
Depends on the story,
Yeah.
but generally speaking,
Okay.
yes, she does. I don't think in this continuity, I don't believe.
Yeah,
so.
that never
In
happened.
this
Like
continuity,
in
the Killing
animation.
Joke didn't happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if she had like cyborg legs or something now, or like,
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
what was going on.
You don't notice it, but she's just hovering in every scene. She
Oh,
just has a
nice.
little,
Okay. Yeah, because I thought I remembered her being like Watchtower or something like that, but
Yeah.
and other things.
Yeah, and in some versions she becomes an oracle.
I think it was one of the video games actually that
Okay.
I'm thinking of. So okay.
Yep.
Stupid comic books.
Yeah.
Make up your mind. Pick a story.
I like the little throwaway moment where they have the dog watching, a Warner Brothers cartoon, because
That was weird.
because they can. Like
Yeah.
they do that in Justice League New Frontier and Martian Manhunter. He comes to Earth and he's like trying to blend in, and he starts to learn English by watching old Bugs Bunny cartoons. So and they do the same thing where they just slot in the actual cartoon. So it's like, yeah, why not?
Might
So,
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, just a fun thing.
Well,
Yeah.
it reduces the amount of stuff you have to create. Right?
Sure.
Because you don't have
Yeah.
to make an in-universe TV show for the dog to watch.
Just pull from your library, Yeah. So yeah, then we get to the flashback sequence, the real story, because Terry goes to Barbara and says, hey, I need answers. I need to know what's going on.
They came after me. Not
Right.
that.
Right. So so she starts to walk him down this path of what happened, and it's an amazing sequence. So they show that Tim is just out on patrol and he's responding he hears a woman's cry for help, so he goes and beats up some thugs, and then it's really Harley Quinn.
Shock twist.
Yeah. And it's like, if you've watched the show, you can tell immediately that that's Harley's voice,
You recognize Arlene Sorkin.
Right.
Yeah.
So she gets knocked out, and then Barbara says, we spent like 3 weeks looking for Tim. And the animated series had never done anything like that. Like there was maybe there was a story where, a couple nights went by, or maybe something like this, but just the idea of like a kid is missing for 3 weeks. Like that's darker than they've gone,
It's darker. I mean, you could make the argument that like Joker murdering, which he's definitely done in the series, is quote unquote worse.
Right.
But
I don't know.
as an audience member, obviously because we know Robin and because he's a child, it feels worse, and it certainly feels like probably the worst thing he's done in this continuity.
Yeah. I would say hands down. This. Well, yeah.
Again, I mean, objectively, is murder probably worse than kidnapping and brainwashing and torturing? Probably, but yeah.
I think this is just more sadistic.
Yeah, this is probably the most sadistic. I think that's a good word. Yeah, this is the most sadistic thing we've seen him do.
He's like that guy, John Doe from Seven. How he's tortures that one guy.
Yeah, Sloth.
Yeah, it's like there
dragging
for like
it
a year.
out. Yeah, right.
Like he's not dead, but
he'd
he
rather
his own
be
tongue, and he's like basically gone.
Yeah, man.
I'd rather have just been dead by a gunshot.
Right,
you're dead now. So in another little edit in the flashback sequence, so Batgirl's hooker contacts were changed to a guy and a girl.
Oh, okay.
Instead of being heavily implied streetwalkers.
Yeah, which one just looks like Black Canary?
Yeah.
I think that's just because of the limited character models.
Yeah. So Batman and Batgirl make their way to Arkham, and I really enjoy Harley and Joker playing house,
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea where he's just sitting there, reading the paper, smoking his pipe, just playing house with Harley, and then she lays out like, oh, we thought we were getting older, so we wanted to have some kids. Didn't want to go through the horrors of childbirth, so I love Joker's line about,
Decided to
you always
adopt.
seem to have a couple extra kids laying around.
So we borrowed one.
Ugh. I think his Tim's reveal as little J is just the
Yeah.
most
Mhm.
disturbing thing I've ever seen.
That
The shorts
'cause
don't
he's-
help, but
yeah,
ugh,
the little plate
Mhm.
pantsuit.
yeah.
Yeah,
Ugh.
it's
Like
it's that grin though.
yeah.
It's that grin.
It's the grin and then the eyes that are like manic and
Yes.
like especially so like towards the end where he's like his eyes are just watering and like
Mhm.
Oh
ugh.
yes, yeah,
I think so. Another tidbit from the commentary. So they were able to get Matthew Valencia, the actor who did Tim Drake, to do most of Robin in
Yeah.
this movie. But I think the crying, the part where he goes laughing to crying, basically like he just couldn't do it.
yeah.
Maybe just because it was a couple years later and he was a little too old. So that is voiceover legend Andrea Romano as the laughing, crying Tim Drake in that.
Well, they
Normal the voice director.
when they were talking about this on Batman, they were talking about how the kid doing this couldn't get there. He couldn't
Yeah, that's
access
what it was.
like
Okay, yeah.
getting to the point of manic
Mhm.
crying.
Of a
And
manic breakdown. Yeah.
yeah, and I think I'm guessing Andrea was like, I don't want to put this kid through anything. He probably
Yeah.
doesn't know how to access trauma. He may not have ever experienced trauma. So yeah, that's why she stepped in and did the crying
Yeah.
sort of thing. But yeah, because the kid just couldn't do it, which it's fair.
So I don't want I don't want us to skip past the whole movie.
Oh
So
yeah.
the reason that I wanted to be on this episode
Okay.
a long time ago, basically as a stupid human trick, I have this entire Joker monologue down cold.
Oh wow.
I will give you a rendition in a moment.
Okay.
What's wrong, Batman? No witty comeback? No threat? Then I'll provide the narration. I'll begin with how I peeled back the layers of the boy's mind. Oh, he bravely tried to fight it at first. You would have been proud to see him so strong. But all too soon, the serums and the shocks took their toll, and the dear lad began to share such secrets with me. Secrets that are mine alone to know, Bruce. It's true, Batsy. I know everything. And kinda like the kid who peeked at his Christmas presents, I must admit it's sadly anticlimactic. Behind all the sturm and batarangs, you're just a little boy in a play suit crying for mommy and daddy. It'd be funny if it weren't so pathetic. Ah, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway. And then I'm not going to laugh because I've got a baby in the room next door. Just a stupid human trick.
Well done.
Bravissimo.
All right, Mark, you can get out of here.
Yeah.
Let Alex back in.
I think there's a new. I don't remember who the new. It's Trey something. The new guy who does essentially he's doing Mark Hamill's Joker, but
Right.
he does a whopper impression. So there are lots of edits in that in
Oh,
the
yeah.
edited version. Little bits of dialogue. Instead of I peel back the layers of the boy's mind, I'll begin with how I affected young Robin's makeover. Lots of the movie is cut, especially the parts that I fast forwarded through where there's no dialogue, where he's
Yeah.
like opening the barbecue, grabbing the voltage tongs, zapping Robin, and then most of the really all most of the blood and the rest of the flesh.
Yeah. I also like that they're cutting back. Well, not cutting back and forth, but they do also devote a little chunk of this to Batgirl and Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And they get to have a great fight. I like that Tim is there with like a bazooka to hand mommy.
Sure.
And then Harley seemingly, no, I don't think anyone believes that she would be killed here, but I like that
The
she.
same thing they did with Joker every time.
Yeah.
Is they dropped him off of a high thing that no one could survive that.
Right, right. And I like like Barbara says, like, if she lived, she
I'm
never got
sorry,
back
you
in the
never caused
game,
any
and
trouble.
yeah, like I don't think she's starting trouble now or whatever it is,
Hmm.
but yeah, then yeah, it cuts back inside, and that's when we get the home movie section, and Batman just kind of goes to his breaking point essentially.
It's the hardest we've ever seen Batman go again in this
Yeah,
continuity.
yeah,
So there's a couple of good things. So in the edited version, they cut out the part where Joker actually stabs Batman in the leg,
mm.
which is the explanation for why Bruce walks with a limp and uses a cane as an old man.
Oh yeah,
There's also, it's my favorite dumb joke. Joker has the knife in one hand
yeah.
and he says, I, on the other hand, because Batman should have his eye on the other hand where the knife is.
Nice.
Nice.
I didn't catch that. Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
good.
either. I'm gonna call it. There's no way Tim Drake is out of a mental hospital after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they said like, look, we got the best experts we could possibly find, and they worked with him for a long time.
Still, like
Mm.
that's messed up.
Yeah.
That's not gonna leave you. That's gonna always be there.
The death also is changed
Yeah.
in the edit.
Yeah, I can't remember how it plays out in the
In the
original.
edit, he gets caught in some wiring, and
Right.
essentially he like pratfalls himself to death by
Right.
like electrocuting himself.
Yeah. That seems to be the PG the safe version of showing someone die is getting electrocuted or something, or
Yeah.
falling from a great height seems to be
Mhm. Yeah.
I guess a kid can, handle that sort of thing, I guess, a little easier. I don't know. But I love the whole bang gun that it seems so innocent, but then it actually fires a projectile.
And it's a great call forward, I guess.
Yeah.
To it's the same gun, or at least the same make
Yeah.
of the gun, the fake out, anti-fake out that killed Bonk.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you think the Joker wouldn't want to use that gun anymore?
Right.
Although
No,
I don't understand the imprinting thing either. So maybe
Right.
since he imprinted it before he died, it doesn't have the memory of that or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sci-fi mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
Basically, you
Yeah.
just have to. You just have. I mean, with all science fiction things, at some point you have to throw your hands up and say it's magic, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, the microchip is magic.
Well, no, actually, I'm okay with Joker knowing what happened after he put the chip there, because Tim knows what happened.
Yeah. Tim would. Yeah. Yeah.
Because Tim was there.
Right.
So
And Joker can access all of those.
Joker knows everything that Tim knows.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
future Joker, whenever he planted the chip on him, obviously he stops having his memories after that, but Joker can access the entire library of things that Tim Drake knows, and one of the things that Tim Drake knows is what he experienced during original Joker's death.
Yeah.
So it's like a little parasite Joker.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he
And
ceases to be the original Joker and becomes a new Joker.
Right.
Mhm.
To me, this is a completely satisfying conclusion to the Batman Joker storyline for that whole, Batman the Animated
Mhm.
Series story. Like, I love that they show it as a flashback here. We didn't get it a couple years after that show had ended. So yeah, but I'm totally satisfied with, like, if this is where those two characters end,
Mhm. Yeah.
And then it makes sense that Batman would continue. He'd have less of a supporting cast around him because obviously he's never going to let another
He's
kid
not
go
going to
with
endanger
him.
another kid. And Barbara,
He's gonna-
I think,
yeah.
is
He'll-
Barbara a high schooler? I don't remember how old Barbara is
I'm guessing
canonically
she'd be
at that point.
college age around this time because
Yeah, so
Tim
he's-
was.
Tim was, I think, a
Yes.
preteen. Maybe
Or,
he's a teenager by the time the flashback happens.
Yeah, and Dick Grayson is already, he's
Dick
Nightwing
Grayson's
at
already
this
gone.
point.
He's off being Nightwing.
Yeah,
Jason Todd doesn't exist in this continuity.
I do sort of wish that they incorporated Nightwing somehow into this, or It'd be
they mentioned him. There was a
yeah,
throwaway
yeah,
line about
yeah.
Nightwing.
Well, we get the red herring taken out
Hmm.
and space lasers.
Yeah.
Another edit here. They cut down this scene. I guess basically his friend Amy on the bed was a little too, or the fake Amy, which was really the DD's, was I guess a little too sexy
Okay.
for the audience they were going for.
Yeah.
So there were cuts made there.
Hmm. There is that moment after the flashback story. Barbara says, tells Terry like, "Oh, Tim Drake, he's moved on. He had family." And then Terry goes to see Tim Drake. You know, we find him like he's working on some big space, satellite. And I really like the moment where Tim says, I heard you a mile away, or I heard you coming, or something like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, the training never really goes away. So he gets a nice
Yeah.
little interaction with Batman, and just kind of Terry at this point is satisfied. Okay, like yeah, this isn't our guy. He doesn't know anything. So
Yeah, at that point he's satisfied, but
yeah,
then
right,
yeah,
right.
then the big space laser, like we said. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yep. The movie goes Akira for a little while.
Yeah.
It's a little surprising knowing what happened in the Justice League cartoon in this same continuity, knowing how much the space laser was
Oh yeah,
a problem.
yeah,
Like that became a big political problem. Like Amanda Waller says,
yeah.
"You're mad at us. You've got a big giant space laser pointed down." And yet they've got it, and yet Wayne Enterprises has now put another giant space laser pointed down.
Yeah, this is the future.
I guess. I guess the argument is this one is an actual military satellite that is probably controlled by a government.
Yeah,
Although I thought they said it was a Wayne Enterprises, but maybe Wayne Enterprises made it for the government.
could be.
He's gone Tony Stark.
Yeah.
It's just a weapons.
Mm-hmm. Oh, another edit. When Terry is in the Batmobile, we get more magic seatbelts that appear.
I do like one thing I like about him in the Batmobile is that everything is literally red and black, and so there's
Mhm.
no like he just blends into the sort of circuitry interior of
Mhm.
the Batmobile, and
Mhm.
there you don't see like where he stops and the vehicle begins. Like it's literally just they use red and black, and they don't differentiate where his arm is. It's just all blended together. It
Mhm.
kind of looks cool. So
And it sort of makes sense because the bat suit, being a more technological
yeah,
bat suit, like where is the stopping point between Batman and his technology?
yeah,
Or where's the cutoff point?
yeah. Trying to see when does he go to? I think after they blow the ship up. Is that when he
After
goes
they
to?
blow the ship up, that's when Terry, yeah, so Terry goes to see Tim
Yeah,
Drake. I think Terry goes to see Tim Drake before the ship is blowing up, or maybe simultaneously. No,
yeah,
it's before the ship is blowing up. The ship blows up, and then Terry puts the two and two together that Tim Drake is a basically a telecom expert.
yeah. Goes
And
back to
yeah.
Bruce
Mhm.
and one thing I noticed is Terry goes to Bruce and says, "Let's look at all the pieces of tech that have been stolen over the
Yeah.
past however long, and what if we configured them in such a way, what could
Mhm.
that make?" And then they realize, oh, he made this goddamn space laser, and that is almost identical to what to in the Heart of Ice episode of Batman the Animated Series, when Mr. Freeze, like, he first comes to town. It's his first episode, and all these like various tech thefts have been going on, and Mr. Freeze has been taking big, pieces of tech equipment. And Batman says he's probably in the Batcave talking to Alfred, and he's like, "But what if I put him in this configuration?" And he realizes, "Oh, you could make a giant ice cannon."
Mhm.
And so it's kind of the same thing here. And then in that episode, Mark Hamill voices a character called Ferris Boyle, who
Mhm.
is Mr. Freeze's boss. He's the guy who fired him, and he's the reason that Freeze became Mr. Freeze.
Mhm.
And now this is obviously before Mark Hamill voices the Joker. He just came in for that one episode, voiced this character. So it's interesting to me that it's like we're gonna use this part from Heart of Ice where tech crimes turn into a cannon weapon, and then it's also the same episode that Mark Hamill voices a guy who's not the Joker. You know, it's just I don't know. It's just interesting. It's a nice little crossover of sort of
Yeah, and that
things.
was where kind of the Mark Hamill and the creatives relationship started,
Yeah.
because he is a big, comic book geek, and he, was asking them all sorts of things, and that sort of kindled the relationship. Once was Tim Curry the
Yeah.
original choice? Yeah. Once Tim Curry kind of didn't work out, they went and found Mark Hamill, and then even more full circle, Mr. Freeze had an episode
Yeah.
in Batman Beyond. I think as
Yeah. Very
one of the
few original
few
characters.
original
Yeah.
villains who showed up
Yeah.
just as himself.
Yep. He has great. It's a great episode
Yep.
with him. You know, he.
Because essentially his power essentially cryogenically freezes him, and
Yeah.
he's nearly immortal.
Yeah.
Um,
I might have mentioned that
Bane is the other
to.
one who showed up. I
Oh,
remember,
right.
but
Patrick, I can't remember if we talked about Mr. Freeze because we just did Sub-Zero, a little while ago.
Mhm.
And in that is where he gets like he's drifting off at the end, or no, that's in a never mind. That's in an episode of the show, but
was it in
I
Sub-Zero where he basically walks off in the
yes,
Arctic wearing like
yes,
his
Yeah.
boxers?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because
Yeah.
I think Sub-Zero ended with basically like the good news that Nora Freeze has
yes,
been brought back, and Mr. Freeze basically standing outside in
yeah,
the Arctic in his boxers, like watching with a happy, watching
yeah.
and happy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So let's
anyway,
see. So
returning
Terry,
to
yeah,
Joker.
Terry puts it like Terry makes a great case for, I think the Joker is your friend Tim Drake, and it's one of the few times where Bruce is
Even if he's not saying that he's Tim Drake, he's
sure
behind him in some way.
working with him. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's one of those like Bruce is not known for being open-minded, but
Mhm.
even Bruce comes around. Like Bruce typically when he sets his mind to something, he's not going to be convinced otherwise. He's kind of,
Because usually, kind of like the Mary Sue-ness of the character, like he's already thought 10 steps ahead.
right.
He's
Right.
already figured out what the right thing is.
Yeah.
So you can't convince him because he knows your
Yeah.
counter argument. He knows the counter to your counter
Yeah.
argument. He knows his counter to the counter to the counter argument,
Yeah.
But like in this case, and maybe you want to say like his judgment and his wisdom is a little impaired because of his emotional connection to this. He didn't make that connection. Terry makes that connection, and he goes, "Oh yeah, good point."
Yeah. Yeah. You might be right. Yeah.
It's kind of funny, the idea that Tim Drake is like behind the Joker instead of actually being the Joker, because
Hmm.
I mentioned Batman Forever. One of the things that's always kind of bugged me, of heaven forbid someone point out a logical flaw in that movie, when Two-Face takes the Gotham Circus hostage and he says,
Mm.
"Hell, one of you pasty-faced twits is Batman."
Right.
I think it's reasonable to assume that Batman is well funded, possibly
Hmm.
with legal money somewhere, right? Because we don't, there's no one, no, in no universe do you ever hear about like Batman stealing his tech or something.
Right.
So it's like it's reasonable to assume that his one of these well-to-do one percenters
Yeah.
is also secretly, a special forces person. Like I think it would be more reasonable to assume that one of them is maybe funding him. Like they've got just like a special forces guy that they pay to be, to go out and do the actual fighting while they provide the funding and maybe the technology or something like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, just pet peeve that my mind just wandered off to. But yeah, I think at this point the assumption is Tim Drake is either funding the Joker or he's sort of the brains behind it.
Yeah.
There's something to that effect. Yeah.
Like after Terry goes to confront Tim. Obviously, he's like a hologram at that point, and then gets trapped in whatever this lab is, or kind of whatever. And
Oh, it was in the Jolly Jack. He goes to the
no,
Jolly
it
Jack,
was
right?
in like
No?
Tim Drake's like in whatever facility that he was in, I think.
Oh no, wait, no. Jolly Jack gets blown up by the space laser, and the
Yes.
space laser chases
Yeah.
Terry. Okay.
Yeah. Terry has to, has to fight some, automatic sort of laser guided, sort of weapons, gets out of there, then he starts driving away and his communications get hijacked by the Joker, who
Yeah.
reveals that he's at the Jolly Jack place, and then that's when like the space laser starts following Terry,
Yeah.
starts following him in the Batmobile, which it's just cutting through buildings, and I've never I don't know if I ever thought about it before. I'm like, what's the death count of this sequence? Like, as this laser is just like
Oh,
cutting through buildings,
So the commentary track does call that out.
Oh, really?
They basically say, "Well, all the buildings are empty. It's
Of course
the
they
night,
do.
right?"
Uh-huh,
Well, I
yeah.
mean, they're saying it like basically to just say like, "No, don't." We
Yeah.
know, we're aware that
Yeah.
we're essentially committing a minor genocide
Yeah.
in the middle of future Gotham, but just pretend that it's the middle of the night. No one's in the
Right.
skyscrapers, or minimal people are in the skyscrapers, and yeah, carry on.
With this laser cutting through like this, a big chunk of Gotham, it occurred to me, when we see Joker in a little bit, like he's not even like ransoming the city. He makes no public address or public other than like when he appeared at Batman,
He
Bruce,
appeared, he said,
at Bruce
Joker's
Wayne's.
back, and
Yeah,
that's
but
basically it.
then
Like he just
there's no grand, like he doesn't go in front of the mayor, he doesn't threaten the world. It's just,
Mhm.
as far as anyone else knows, oh yeah, the other night half the city got cut in half by a laser and
They
some
don't even
stuff
know that
blew.
Joker did it.
Right, yeah, it's just it occurred to me this time around that Joker doesn't, like, I don't know if anyone knows that yeah, Joker did all this. It's just an odd, low key
His
thing.
motivations are petty revenge.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
he's
It's yeah. He's causing huge destruction, but he's doing it in a very like subtle, he's not making a big show about it.
subtle as he shoots a space laser in the
Right,
shape of a
right.
smiley face.
Subtle as in like he's not taking ownership over it, you know what I mean? He's not making it a big public
Yeah.
thing. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just weird. Let's see. So then, yeah, we get ba, ba, ba. Oh, that's right. They bring down the Batmobile, shoot it down with a rocket, and he crashes. And then it's like Wolf, the hyena man, like is about to take on Terry. And then I love the setup with bringing Ace along, and it's just Ace versus Wolf. And I love that idea. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna fight you, but that dog's gonna, rip your throat out.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then this is a great little moment where this time around, Terry just gets to like, take down the Jokers who we've seen him try to take down before and not do a great job. He gets over on Dee Dee by just like turning invisible and kind of messing with it, shoves one, makes the other think that it was them, and like, creates that kind of chaos.
I assume there's a timer on the invisibility, otherwise why turn that off?
Right. Yeah.
It's like a video game, there's a cooldown period.
Right. Yeah.
And why would the one Dee Dee really think in her head,
Yeah.
okay, we're here trying to fight Batman, and my sister and my partner in crime just like shoved me in the back?
Right.
Well, they're unbalanced.
Mm-hmm.
Too
Yeah.
much genetic shenanigans, maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But it kind of like it's the old adage about Batman is like, if
With enough prep time.
with enough prep time, in planning, he can take down anybody. And so this is kind of like the Batman
It's a
Beyond
little bit of
version
that.
of
Yeah,
like,
like
he went
he's
into
now
this
seen them a
fight with
couple
a
times,
plan. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I like that. I like that he gets
Yeah.
he takes down this gang really easily this time.
Yeah. And we see him taking them down using his brains. Like he fist
Right.
fought them the first two times, and this
Yeah.
time now he's being clever.
Yeah. And then we get the sort of the Joker reveal.
The full reveal, yeah.
Terry goes to I guess the Jolly Jack candy factory or whatever. Finds Tim there unconscious. I think he confronts him saying like, "I know you're working for the Joker," that sort of thing. So yeah. So Patrick, you don't care for this, do you?
I mean, I can overlook that his body completely changes.
Yeah.
I love the movie Face Off, and
Sure.
there's no more ridiculous thing than that.
Yeah.
I think I guess the mole that is also a supercomputer chip that
Sure.
can transform and house all this, and like apparently Tim Drake never showers or
Yeah.
got electrocuted while working on his job or anything else. Like, and then obviously he's pointing, this is the spot to hit me, Batman.
Yeah.
It's
I
it's kind
definitely
of like dumb,
yeah.
and I don't know, it's just unnecessary.
I don't care for the mole or the microchip
Mhm.
aspect of it, being, here's the point, of it, here's where what
Here's
you
the
need to
Achilles heel.
destroy.
Here's
Yeah.
the Achilles heel. Don't hit it.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't care for that either. I do wish that they had come up with some other way.
It does kind of fit because Bruce even says the Joker's vain. He likes to talk,
Yeah.
especially to he doesn't respect Terry as Batman. He doesn't think Terry is a threat to him.
Yeah.
So you can
It's still a
almost
stupid move.
it is stupid, but you can almost justify it as the Joker's arrogance that like I will point out the weak spot to you.
Yeah.
You can't do anything about it because I know everything that Tim Drake knew.
Right.
I knew everything that Batman and Robin knew about fighting and self-defense. You're just a second-rate knockoff. You can do nothing to me.
And I'm also going to call shenanigans on that thing working for 40 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean there is the question of so why did Joker come back now?
Yeah. It's almost like he had to like prep the body or something, because he mentioned something about like the amount of time that
Yeah, he can stay in him for longer and longer. Yeah.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe now he comes back now because now the technology is good enough to do the space laser thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, is there really ever
why take
the
over
why?
50-year-old
Yeah.
Tim Drake instead of 25-year-old Tim Drake or
Yeah.
30-year-old Tim Drake, or wait till he's 70, or you know what?
Well, I
Wait
get
till
why
Bruce is
Joker
dead,
would be
you know?
motivated to like finding his version of immortality. I get that he would have been working on it back then, and I like how he says like, I picked up bits of genetic splicing here, and
Yeah, bit of Cadmus tech I pinched.
yeah, just just did some light casual gene splicing over the weekend. In between making giant whoopee cushions, and
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, canonically, Joker is like a genius.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
55 different forms of engineering,
right.
like chemical engineering and bioengineering and mechanical engineering. Him and Batman both.
See, I think the original '89 Batman kind of screwed that up for me. I never thought I thought he was just some like gangster.
A gangster
Yeah.
who was kind of into art.
Who apparently kind of into art, but apparently is
Yeah.
also like a master chemist.
So
Yeah.
between that and Cesar Romero, those were my jokers. So neither of which exuded master intelligence. So
yeah. But like Alex pointed out earlier, this one, like his look here is kind of based on Hannibal Lecter. But I mean, essentially, it's like you take that guy and you give him a sense of humor. But I love that that he plans to like I'm gonna blast Bruce's house with the space laser. I'm gonna blast Terry, your mom, and your brother. I'm gonna take those people off the board. He draws like a line between them, completing like the smiley face sort of thing. And then like, Terry at this point has just been like writhing on the ground because he's been electrocuted. But then I think he said, Joker opens it up for Terry. And he's like, yeah, I just got one thing to say, sick him, and Ace returns, Ace in the hole. I mean, he is just, he goes after Joker. It causes his joy buzzer to, get knocked out, which brings down the entire space laser.
Joy buzzer. Now it's coming here.
Yeah, the joy buzzer just falls into the works, of the control system or whatever, and it fries the whole thing. So
yeah, that's a weird failsafe for your device that takes control of space lasers. Is when you have a circuit overload, aim the laser on the device.
Yeah. Return to home. I do like that once Joker is like, well, this whole plan just went to shit. All right, kids, see you later. Like he's just like, yeah, I guess we're
Yeah.
done, you know. And Batman's like, oh, we're not done, you know. I love where it goes with, you know, if it's a whooping you want.
Yeah. I appreciate that Terry beats Joker
Yes.
obviously by doing Terry stuff,
Yeah, being
by
different.
talking him to death.
Yeah,
So
because I
two things
love.
on that. One, I'm reminded of some meme I saw online that like basically if Batman and Spider-Man swapped villains, they would
Right.
both clean up their cities in 20 minutes and it would be horrible. Um, but I'm also thinking I kind of wish in a couple different stories where Joker is like close to winning and he's about to kill Batman, and then someone says like, and then what?
Yeah.
And then he like has a blue screen of death, you know.
Right.
Like I kind of wish someone had okay, yeah, you're gonna shoot the space laser at the person you think is the real Batman. They're gonna
Right.
kill Bruce Wayne. Then what? You're just gonna go back to being a criminal without, you
Right.
know. We saw that when in the animated series when he thought Batman was dead, crime
Yes.
has no punchline, you know.
Yeah.
So
He
I don't
got
know.
he got depressed when when
Yeah,
Batman
I
we
kind of wish they found a way to bring that in, if especially if you're just gonna talk Joker to you're gonna talk him to death. But I mean, it still works.
yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'll have to now that I'm going back through Batman Beyond. I don't know how quippy Terry is, or if they're just kind of doing that for this movie.
No, I mean he is quippy because he is more like Spider-Man, where his villains are kind of serious,
Yeah.
and he's the funny one
Right.
versus original Batman. Like
Yeah.
he's the serious one, and his villains are silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, honestly thinking about it, like him saying "now what," I think would have worked a little better for me as because it's never entirely clear to me that like Terry wins the fight by talking.
Hmm.
He basically gets Joker to slip,
Right.
and that's what, eventually leads to his downfall. Like I wish he could have I kind of wish he had said like, okay, you kill Bruce, you kill Batman, then what? And
Hmm.
that gives him a pause long enough. That gives Joker pause long enough for Terry to take advantage, as opposed to just kind of getting real close to him.
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah.
I do like that one of the main thing that sets Joker off is when Terry starts laughing at him, you know, and he doesn't
Yeah.
like being laughed at. And it reminded me of the Mad Love episode when Harley
Hmm.
gets kind of the better of Batman. Like she gets
Hmm.
closer to taking down Batman
Hmm.
than Joker ever got, and he starts laughing, you know, in that moment with Harley, and she's like,
Hmm.
I
Oh,
don't,
I don't like
I don't
that.
think I've ever heard you laugh before. I don't like it. It's creepy. Yeah. But I don't think Joker gets to experience that moment. I don't think he's
Yeah.
there for that. So it's funny that, you know, he's got a Batman who's now laughing at him.
Yeah. Well, you're not Batman.
Yeah, yeah. I do like that when they are kind of just fighting, it works. A fight between these two works because it's a Joker who has the training of
Hmm.
someone who was trained by Batman. So in the past, you know, a Joker versus Batman fight, there's nothing there. It's just a strong guy beating up a weak guy, you know. But
Yeah.
here it's actually a physically capable Joker, which I like.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
So
thought it would be a lot more acrobatics from Joker.
yeah,
Like I thought
yeah,
he'd be up in the
I think
rafters
so,
with
but
them.
I think from what we see of Tim Drake, like he's not, I wouldn't say he's let himself go, but he's, kind of got more of like a little bit of a dad bod build to him. So like I'd be a
yeah,
little, I can't imagine, I'm sure that guy probably hits the heavy bag. I don't imagine that guy's still doing gymnastics.
yeah.
Yeah, but the Joker's so
Uh,
slim and
right.
agile.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I
But
kind of wish that, you know, because the I don't know what you call the gun, the bang gun.
mhm.
Mhm. The
Because
double
we
fake
saw
out
it
gun.
at
Yeah.
the beginning of the movie, Take Down Bonk, and
You
then
wish
it's
you got your
called.
rule of three.
I do because I think if this had ended with Joker pulling out that gun and he's planning to shoot Terry with it, but then he can't do like I wish then in the Joker's mind, Tim starts to fight back.
Mm.
And Tim makes the decision, the
Yeah.
conscious like choice to
Yeah,
not shoot.
Tim has no agency in
Right.
this
I really wish that's
story.
where this fight went. Because you would get the rule of three with the gun, and you'd get Tim fighting the Joker.
Mhm.
So I kind of feel like it's a not a letdown, but just like I wish initially I started going down that path with just yeah, I wish it would be the rule of three. Like we see that gun a third time, and then once I started thinking about that, it was like, oh, he can't shoot Terry because Tim takes control, and then it becomes a mind, fight between the victim of this story, Tim, like let him take some control back and fight the Joker and kick the Joker out of his head. Maybe that do that instead of having that chip that just gets, electrocuted. But
Yeah.
but
The buzzer thing on his neck did make me think of Spider-Verse, where he does the hay thing and
Oh,
then he
yeah.
touches
Oh,
his shoulder
yeah.
and then shocks him. It made me think of
Yeah.
that moment as well.
I like that. I do like that the chip itself, when you zoom in close enough, it has like a smiley face in the circuitry.
Yeah, of course. Attention to detail.
Yeah. This one gets a super quick wrap up. I mean, they cut to
Yeah.
the building starts
City's all
blowing
back
up.
together.
Terry grabs Tim. They get out of there. The guard checks in with the DDs and says, "Oh, your grandma's here to pick you
Grandma.
up." And I
Deanna
like
Harley.
this cameo, the cameo of Grandma Harley.
Still looking good.
So
Yeah.
a couple things. Commentary in this. Basically, this was Paul Dini and Bruce Timm not being happy that they had to kill off Harley.
Oh,
So I love Harley. Her clothes are edited to be Harley's red and black instead of this kind of like, here, guys, get it? It's Harley Quinn, but now she's an old woman.
right.
Don't know if I would have want to see that.
No, she's not in the Harley outfit. No, they just like color graded her outfit just so like the purple top she's wearing is black instead, and her blue blazer that's over it is
I was
red.
gonna say that edit seems a little more risque than Okay, now I feel a little better. Okay. I thought they squeezed her into the Harley costume.
No. Yeah,
Okay.
that's funny. But yeah, like I said, just a quick wrap up. I mean, we check into the hospital, and it's like the Bat family is all here, checking in on Tim, and like that's just about it. I mean, we finally get we hear, where Bruce comes in to visit Tim, who they haven't seen each other in years. But I like right before that, I do like that Bruce tells Terry, saying somehow that Batman made him worthwhile or something like that, and it's the other way around. So, it's a nice little wrap up, little finale.
Yeah.
And that's Return of the Joker.
Yeah, that's Return of the Joker. I think there are a decent number of parts of this movie that feel kind of very forgettable. Very forgettable sort of action stuff, but the highs I think are really strong. Like it's not a movie that I come back to watch, but like I come back to the the flashback scene to watch a lot. Honestly, I hate to keep bringing up the MCU, but you're going to get it tons. And you look at all these comic movies, like I never come back to the action scenes in the MCU. I come back to like the character moments, the dialogue, like eventually it's like, okay, yeah, Iron Man did an Iron Man thing, well, I don't even remember what he did, but like that character interaction that happened there, the dialogue and the scene and the staging and all that is kind of what. So like the high parts of this movie, you almost could do this movie for me as just like the dialogue scene, character moment, then they fight. And just like say they fight, and then more character dialogue, and then they fight some more. This fight happens, and just like fast forward through all the action.
Yeah, the dance club scenes.
Yeah, the club.
Yeah, I think I almost wanted I wanted the flashback to be the movie instead. Like I think that would have been a cooler movie just to draw that out as a movie instead of like a YouTube clip.
And I don't think we've mentioned yet the Static X song in the soundtrack throughout the thing. R.I.P. Wayne Static, who I used to be a big Static X fan, and then like I kind of drifted away from them, and then all of a sudden, you have one of those HD moments where it's like, what's up with that guy? It's like, oh, he's dead, and he's been dead for a couple years. What?
It's funny because I remember, Batman at talking about the Static X song that is playing in that club, and
Mhm.
I was like, I don't remember this, and I was thinking it was going to be a bigger deal than it was, and then now watching it again, it's very background noise. Like it's not
there,
even
yeah. There's a
featured.
mu-
You know,
I-
it's
th-
just very
yeah. There's a music video on the DVD,
okay.
but even the music video, I think, is like a lot of shots from the movie.
Sure.
I don't know who Static X is.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you a name of one of their songs, but I know that
No.
if you played one of their songs from this time, there was one that was a big enough single that I would recognize. So let's yeah, so Alex, we do most heroic and most villainous. What is in this movie, what is your most villainous moment?
This planet, these people, they are nothing to me.
You were made to be ruled.
The universe is power. You unstoppable power. Come to me, son of Jor-El. Kneel before Zod. And I am that force. I am that power.
In the end, you will always kneel.
Kneel before your master.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the obvious answer.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
kidnapping, torturing, and brainwashing a child.
That might be it.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, probably that.
Yeah. I kind
The
of like
fact that he's a parasite for another 40 years on top of that.
I started thinking about it like it's Harley for going along with it, you know, and
Oh,
like
yeah.
playing house with Joker, you know, because Batgirl calls her out. She's like, Harley, what did you do? You know, you knew what you were doing, and she was like, yeah, but you know, we just, yeah, you know, she
And
tries to
and the
play it off.
creatives called that out in the commentary. They're like, yeah, we didn't want to kill her, but like this is the farthest and the worst that she's gone as well.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily saying she was more villainous than he was. I just want to make sure to, you know, point out that she went along with it.
She wasn't just complicit. Like
Right.
she's running the camera while he's recording the whole movie.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, then mine was probably Joker killing, was it Bonk? Or whatever, Boink?
Yeah,
Boink,
Bonk.
Bonk.
Yeah.
Bonk, yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, it threw me off. And then, like, everyone else just got real quiet. Like, they're like, shit just got serious.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good villain intro moment.
Nice. And then on the flip side, what is the most heroic?
I believe there's a hero in all of us
I just finally know what I have to do.
that keeps us honest,
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
gives us strength,
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards.
makes us noble.
And I know in my heart that it's right.
Because I don't. Bruce is not his most heroic in this movie.
Right.
I mean, Terry is very almost like a white knight in this. I'm gonna say Commissioner, just to not say Terry for being a white knight through the whole movie.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Commissioner Gordon for actually telling Terry what happened and giving him, you know, those details. Just because,
Right on.
I mean, she didn't have to, and like that's certainly traumatic for her as well. You know, but
There's for me there's one hero in this movie, and it's that goddamn dog Ace.
No.
I was
hell
about to
yeah.
say Ace the Bat Hound.
Yep. That was
Ace
mine.
is the goodest boy.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair.
Yeah.
He comes in at the right. He's the ace in the hole, man. He just comes in at the right moment.
And he's playing hurt too. He's
Yeah.
playing hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my heroic moment as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Kind of a
And then
bummer of a
one
movie,
final
so-
thing, the ghoul character who's a
Oh, yeah.
scarecrow.
Yeah.
That character was created as an excuse because Michael Rosenbaum, the actor who played the Flash in the Justice League, and also played Lex Luthor on
yeah.
Smallville, would just do his Christopher Walken impression all the time in the booth.
Yeah.
So they just said, "Here, do Christopher Walken."
Yeah.
That's
The
funny.
technology
I like
you're
that it's a
looking
weird-
for is cutting edge.
Nice.
I like that it's a weird throwaway, thing that
Mhm.
he's doing for this character, But it also like I'm sure Batman had talked about it. If you think about it, it's like, man, that guy sounds a lot like Max Schreck.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Yeah, so the last thing to do is rate it. Alex, we rate these out of 5. I'm at a 4. Like I said, this one has gotten better. Like rewatching it over and over these last couple of years now. Like I've now watched it a few times, and like even just I rewatched it for in preparation to listen to Batminute, and I looked on my letterbox and I had rated it a 3.5. And then watching it for this, just only a couple months late, in between, like, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna bump this up to a 4. So it just, yeah, it's gotten better and better for me. So I'm at a solid 4.
Yeah, my knee jerk was to go 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think the highs are too high for me to go lower than that,
Yeah.
or for me to even go that low. I guess I could bump it up to like 3.75. I think there are just too many parts. I think it's mostly the action that is just kind of like, it's
Yeah.
there. It happened. I saw it.
Okay.
But like I said, I think all the character stuff and all the stuff that's not fighting is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Patrick?
I think I'm at a 3.5. I kind of wanted a movie about the flashback more than
Okay.
the actual movie we were watching. Like I found that like it would have been cool to see like that unfold like in like full length rather than truncated out like that, like more of a mystery and like them searching for him and stuff.
Yeah.
I think the only other piece that I really remembered was probably the end when he was like goading him into losing his cool,
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of fun. But aside from that, like if it makes me want another movie while I'm watching it, I gotta
Yeah.
I gotta think about the rating. So it's better than average. So 3.5.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a 3.75.
We're all in the same ballpark. Yeah.
Averaged
yeah.
out, so totally fine. Yeah, Patrick, you should at least watch that first episode of Batman Beyond if you just want a little taste
Okay.
of old man Bruce in sort of this costume. It's worth just watching because it is just the opening sequence of him like going out that night and realizing he's too old for this shit.
Nice. So he pulls a Murtaugh. Okay.
Yeah. So
I hope he says that. Is he sitting on a toilet at any time and then finds out there's a bomb on it?
Well, you have to watch the series to find out.
Man.
Yeah.
All right. You hooked me.
Yep. Got to come back next week. Alex, you mentioned, the shows that you did previously in when, in the intro, but yeah, if you want to expand on that.
So as we mentioned, I'm semi-retired. So Galaxy Quest Minute and Independence Day Minute have both completed their full runs. We will not be doing the Independence Day sequel. If anything ever comes of Galaxy Quest continuations, we'll see. No commitment at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, who knows? But anyway, those are both on your podcatcher of choice. If you want to go and binge those, check those out. And then I've guessed it on everything.
Oh yeah,
part. So I'm all over the place in random episodes.
Yeah. I'm my side project, Minute of Thieves, is coming out soon, and you'll be able to hear Alex over there in a couple weeks after it starts. So
yeah, who's on that?
Patrick, what are we doing next?
I think we're going into 2001 with a movie I've never heard of in my life.
Okay.
Called Monkey Bone.
See, I don't know. I've got that
question?
one. I've got that one flagged in red because I don't know that we need to do Monkey Bone.
I've never heard of it, so
it's
I have no idea.
A Brendan Fraser, Chris Kattan movie that I guess is based on a comic book, which is why it was originally put on the list. But I've never heard a good thing about that movie.
Hasn't stopped us before.
It hasn't. So I guess we could do Monkey Bone, or the one that would be after that is Josie and the Pussycats. So we could step into the Archie world of comics.
Monkey Bone does have an impressive looking cast.
Does it? I only know the two mains.
Brendan Fraser, Bridget Fonda, Chris Kattan, Giancarlo Esposito, Rose McGowan, Whoopi Goldberg,
Oh
Dave
yeah, we gotta see
Foley,
that just for that.
Megan
Jeez.
Mullally, Bob Odenkirk is in there.
Jeez.
John Turturro.
Really?
Holy cow.
I guess we're doing Monkey Bone next.
Yeah. That'll be a fun train wreck. All right.
Sure. All right, let's do it. Fuck it.
Uh-oh, I talked you into that.
Yeah.
Does not look like there was a Razzie Award for this one, but does look like Whoopi Goldberg was nominated for a Stinker Award.
Oh.
Ooh.
I don't know what that is.
Don't know either.
Well, listeners,
You're
stay
in for a
tuned to
treat.
find out.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about what the Stinker Awards are.
Guess we won't have a guess for that one.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can subject anyone to.
Monkey Bone. All right. Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's fun.
And we will be back in a couple weeks with that. But until then, stay safe out there, citizens.
Show me the monkey!
Take that monkey!
Stu Miley is the creator.
The man behind the monkey.
Monkey Bone is his creation.
I love your ways.
Stu was about to have it all until it all came crashing down. From the director of The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Hello? Am I dead?
Hiya, boss.
Comes the story of a man whose imagination brought a monkey to life.
This is living.
Hey! Get your fat butt out of my face.
And a monkey
We've got big plans for that body of yours!
who wanted a life of his own.
Stu?
Whoa, baby!
If it screams, if it swings,
Ooga, ooga, da, 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 da.
it's got to be
Drinks for everybody.
Monkey Bone. 20th Century Fox presents Brendan Fraser, Bridget Fonda,
The woman I love is living with a little monkey that looks like me.
Dive, dive, dive! Ow!
What a lucky girl.
Monkey Bone.
Sorry, kitty. I'll be right back after I choke my monkey!
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Find the show on Facebook and Twitter at Real Comic Heroes. All music and audio are the property of their respective creators.